bright light coming here. 1 second, maybe this is better. That's better probably, right?
Okay.
Okay. Good. Okay, let's pick up this mitzvah called Roidei. It's a Amar, a Tzibui Muchlot, in the middle of a whole group of mitzvahs, which basically are Shrana, Heroos, Mishpatati, religious law. So this is a bona fide chiyuv. Tzivono lahatzil hanirdof miyad ha'roidei lahorgoi. So the mitzvah here, the Ram clearly cans it as a mitzvah of hatzolah, of saving. There's no mention, which we'll pick up later, there's no mention here of Ma'aseh Aveira. It's just to save someone who is being attacked. And if it requires to kill the attacker, Kolema, Shonu Mitzuvim, Laharoig Aroidik. Im Loinucha Lahatzel, Nirdu Fellow Benefesh Aroidik. Lama Yisale, Katsoisis Kapo, Leisofus Eincha. So this we pointed out, it's a very interesting phenomenon, that the Ram quotes not only the Aseh, but the Lav over here, because as we'll see later, that the Aseh by itself doesn't tell the whole story. Because the Aseh only tells you that you're allowed to take off, to cut an aver, or destroy an aver, or make it mutilate an aver in order to save someone's life, but maybe you're not allowed to kill someone. And that we learn after Leisofos Eincha. Then we continue. Veloshin Sifri, B'mabushov, Ma babushov miyuchod sheish boi sakonis nefoshes. So we pointed out that the whole issue of saving an attacker, saving someone who's being attacked, and to attack the attacker, and to possibly mutilate them or kill them in order to, it's only in order to save the person being attacked, because an issue of sakonis nefoshes. But if it's a brawl, let's say, I don't know, I assume there's a brawl that is not an issue of sakonis nefoshes, that would not, probably should not be allowed according to this. Mabusha ma mabusha miyuchad sheish sakonis nefoshes. By who? B'vakasoisis kapo. Kakol dover sheish sakonis nefoshes. Halu b'kasoisis kapo. B'kasoisa es kapo. Malamik shato chayiv latziloi b'chapo. So if the sakonis nefoshes, you're obligated to save the person at the expense of another person's aver. The attack is aver. And then it goes further. It's not only an issue of aver, minayin shim ein ato yochol latzila b'chapo, shato chayiv latzila b'nafsho. And the nafsho is the woman over here who's holding the Mabushov. Talmud Loima Leisofos Eincho. So we learn out Leisofos Eincho that you mechuyev even benafshe. Usha'amru his hines boy he kvois boy locho inyan atzibri azeh usha'amru Eishes ho'echod, that's the pasuk. Eishes ho'echod. Omnon diva b'hoivitz na'avdaf denisha, but she was the one, and it's not dafki his wife, but she was the one who was trying to save him. Makavona he lahatzal hanirdof be'vorov shel roidei ve'mi'ef shel hatziloi ki ma'misa roidei b'pam achas or legamrei yalgei. Okay, that's the mitzvah. So we pointed out last week, number one, that since we learn out the katsoises kapo, we're not killing the roidev, you're just cutting off the roidev's hands. But and we're continuing and saying not only it says lahatsa but nafsha, that if it's impossible to save by mutilating an ava or whatever, but you have to kill the person, so you're allowed to kill the person in order to save the other person. And we pointed out also Mabushov, the Sefer says, because it's sakonas ava, and that the Ram says also what's Shmiras Nefesh Perek Alva Lachet Echad Mabushov v'Echad Kol Dover Sheish B'Sakonas Nefoshes Echad Oish Shochas Zeisha Inyan Akosim Shekol Achosh L'Haklis Akoy Shehamemisa. It's only because of Sakonas Nefoshes. Oisim Atzil Nida B'Kapo Sheloide. It's only because of Memisa. See, here's a very strange thing, that somehow we're supplementing in order to understand what the mitzvah is from the Ashoro. It says the katsoises kapo leisochos einlev, which is very odd because we learned in Sherish Ches that mitzvahs are tzivuyim. And here, we're learning from a lab something about a mitzvah, which is very odd. It's counterintuitive. We never would have said that. So maybe we'll talk about this later just to understand. Maybe that's the Ram's quoting the Sifri, that ki'ilu it's a pirush mekubal to understand that we learn from the Sochos Eincha that the katsoises kapo is lav dafka the ave, but if it's impossible the ave you should kill, and that's also included with katsoises kapo, because that's what it says. Minayin she'im ein ato yochel atzil, it's a loshen sifri, and that's the loshen matike shmur. I guess the pirush mekubal bikayin. Minayin she'im ato yochel atzil v'kapo. Chayiv means an obligation. And I guess this reinterprets what the katsoises kapo is. It's only in a situation where you can save with the kapo. And if it's not, then it's benafsha. Now, this is the simple part. Now let's try to understand I think, in a greater sense, what's going on here. And the first question anyone should ask, especially in Sanhedrin, is what's going on over here? The Rambam derives the mitzvah from a Sifri, not only here, but also Miyan HaKotzer, and in Perek Aleph, but in the Talmud, we have a whole different makor for the for Harigas Haroidev, and we learn it from the Amarasa. Sugi Sanhedrin, Ein Gimel on Aleph, Ve'elnitin latzila b'nafshei minola, Asi b'kal v'choy min Amarasa shalei bo el lepoigmo, Omater nitin latzila b'nafshei, Roidev ach chaveil lahol, alachas kam v'kamo. So it's learned from the Amarasa. The Chein Shimon Adin, the Rebbe Tana, the Rebbe Tana, Hekishu, V'chi ki kasher yokum ish areu l'tzocho inofesh kumala malo l'tzeach me'ato harin ze bo l'lamed v'nim salomed makish v'tzeich na'amorosa, ma na'amorosa nitan להציל בנפשו, אף לא יצליח ניתן להציל בנפשו. ונעמוס מנולן, גופה מנולן, כדתנו רבי שמואל, משיח לו, or yesh Moshiach lo, if there is a Moshiach, b'chol dover sheyochel Moshiach, he's allowed to save, and to kill, to save. V'chein pirush Mishnayos, the Ram learns the Gemara Sanhedrin. Kol dover, kol chayvi krisis, v'chayvi bisis bezdin, men arayis matzin lois manafshin v'hiske shloish ze'ela uvad lefishim makol shenilman rimenu boro yoyse min hashar. Which is involved most of the which is the Namrosa. So how did this happen and what happens? So the simple answer, and it's the answer time and time again, the Ram holds that Stam Sifri, Mechilta, is a Lashon of Matiki Ashmur, and Medrash Halacha, when it comes to Kviyas HaMitzvos, take precedence over Talmud Bavli. And and we'll see even more later, this is the preview, since the Matiki Hashmur are the Keveya of the Mitzvahs, and the Stam Mitzvahs are the Sifri, the Sifra, and the Mechilta, the Stam, the Divrei Matiki Hashmur. So they're very careful to quote the drasha, which tells us the mitzvah. Now, that's the end of this point. Next point, which will be build on this point. L'cheira, independent of everything, if you learn from the Sifri, you have a gain that you don't have in the Talmud. Because if you learn from the Amarasa, I would assume the Reidif is only a din. Ein Moshiach law, but it means that if Yesh Moshiach law, he's allowed to kill. That's not a tzivui. There's no tzivui for the Hatzalas Amarasa, but it's only a hira, Ein Moshiach law. So then you might have only had a Shrana, not an Amar, not a Tzivui Muchlat. And even going further, I can imagine someone claiming there should be a Mitzvah B'chal. Because the question is the Mefurish and Teresh B'Ksav that a Moshiach law, that a Yesh Moshiach, or it's a derivation which the Chachmei HaMeseirah made? Or it's only an implication. It's not a clear, it's not something with Fush and Torah B'Ksav. So since the Ariga of Na'amurasa is not explicit in Torah B'Ksav, maybe it shouldn't be even a Shrana. Because Shrana we learned in Tzadi Hey, in the Mitzvah Forest Gedolim, and in Kufyu Zayin and many other places, that the Mitzvahs, also I think appears in the Minyakotze, so on Kuf Tes, he says very explicitly that the Shran is a Torah Shebiksav. So if it's not explicit Torah Shebiksav, it's just an implication. I'm not sure that it fulfills that which is necessary to make a mitzvah. So if that's the case, maybe Adarab. That's why the Rambam puts the mitzvah of Redev in the middle or the tail end of all the mitzvahs which are Sharana, which are religious law, to say Adarabah. This is not the case. It's not a religious law. We don't learn it from Namarosa. Maybe you couldn't have learned it from Namarosa. We learn it from the Katsois' Kappa. It's a bona fide tzivui. That Namish, if you're ready to do that, you can turn the world upside down and understand slightly. No, because it's it's a little bit enigmatic. The Ram, all the last 20 mitzvahs, all Shrana, and the second to the last one, oops, is an Amal, is about Mitzivi Muchla. Maybe that's the shot. I just want to give you a glimpse that we spend time to understand the Ram's approach to Minyan Mitzvahs, but I think it's pretty clear that the Rishonim and Gainim had a different approach. For some reason, the Ram was accepted, whatever that is. But for example, open up Tesis in Sanhedrin, Ein Gimel and Aleph, Divra Mascho Lahatzilo Benafshay. She says like this: Vim Tema, the Kiva the Mehocha Yafinim, the Roitseach Nitan Latzilo Benafshay. We learn after Namurosa, Lomali Kro, Betoveya Benaha, Bachaya Girosai, Hashta Chaveru Hori Kedila Hatzil, Hosam Lekoshike. Said the Yimchuiti Matzil without killing. Because the reason is in order to save from Isurim, which is very interesting, which we'll see we shouldn't pick up, or maybe the Ram will see exactly about that. Well, Taisa, you shouldn't say that. Elenira the ime hocha havamina Aseh. If you would learn from Namurasa, you would think that it's only an Aseh. Just the opposite of everything we're saying. Komash Malon Hossam, the Oive Balav, the Leisaman Adam Reecho. We don't understand 100% what the categories, how Tesis defines a mitzvah, but I would assume that Tesis defining things different than the Rambam. And he's ready to make from now Amurasa mitzvah, Minyan Mitzvahs. Now, before I was asking that the Rambam takes and learns from the Sifri, a mitzvah, and even though the Gemara and Sanhedrin has a different source. Now I want to tell you something even more than that. Because of the Sifri, the Rambam turns the Gemara and Sanhedrin upside down and inside out. Because remember, in the Gemara and Sanhedrin, we're doing one thing. We're learning Reidev, we're learning it from Namurasa. Namurasa is the source, is the Malamed, and what's the Lamed? Is Reidev, So I want to tell you, is the Ram says just the opposite. The Ram says, Halacha Maisa, we're learning Namurasa from Reidev Chachaver Lahogoi. Just the opposite of the Gemara Sanhedrin. Okay, you bear with me. I'll show you this. The Rambam, Loisa se, Reish Sadi Gimel. Loisa Reish Sadi Gimel is Sochas Ein. Ze Shamanu, Shehorig Aroide, Al Hishtadloi, Einoi B'chol Mi Sheishtadol La'asos, Eza Avera Shetia. It's not every Avera. The Omnom, who be ish Reidev Achaver Lahogoi, Vafilu Hoye Koton, O Oy Acher, Achas Min Arayis, Legalis Elvo, Ubetznai, Sheyeh Ben Teisha Shon V'Yom Echad. If he's a minor, but he's 9 years old. Umavuhu, Yazochu B'Chal Arayis. Oma Yis'alet Tza'aka Anara Hamalasa Ve'Moshia Lo, or Yesh Lo Moshia, Moshia, if there's a Moshia, he's allowed to save. B'chol Dover Shu Yochel Oshia. Ram quotes this in Sefer HaMitzvos, but not in the Mitzvas Aseh, but in the Lav of Loisachas Einif. V'hish v'din Roidef Achreho, Roidef Acha Chaveo Lahog. And there's an equation between Namu Rasa and Roidef Acha Chaveo Lahog. Oma ki kasher yokum ish al re'eu utzochel nofesh kein adov hazeh. That Roidef Acha Chaveo Lahog we know already. So it's a kappa. So how do we know Roidef Acharayis? From the hekish of what? The hekish of Namarasa to Roidef Achaveu Lahogoi. Just the opposite of the Gemara. And the Rambam also, he would say Chushmius HaNefesh. Avo Roidef in Perek Aleph, Halacha Vav, Zayin, and Yud, Avoidich Achabeu Lahogoi, Afilu Hoya Roidef Cotton, Harikol Yisrael Mitzvah Lahatzil Hanirdaf, Miara Roidef, Afilu Nafshil Sharoidef. Vim Einon Yecholom Lachabin, Ul Hatziloi, Elim Holguhu, Veloidef Hari Elu, Holginoisoi, Vap Bishadain Lohoga. Shenemva Kotzos Kapo Lisokosem. Echo the Roidef Achavel Lahogoi, or Roidef Achanam Rosa, Loinso. Shenemo. And how do we know that it's Echo this and Echo this? That we know about Roidef Achavel Lahogoi, we knew already, right? From Kotzos Kapo Lisokosem. He says, Echo Roidef Achavel Lahogoi. Roidef Achanam Rosa Loinso. Shenema kashe yokum ish areu utzochoi nofesh kein hadov hazeh v'arioimet tzoko anayram ros ve'in moshia lo v'yesh moshia lo v'chol davar sheyochel loshia v'afilu v'arigas roidef. So what's kashe yokum ish areu utzochoi nefesh kein hadov hazeh? So we're equating Nam Rasa to roidef achachaver lahogoi, just the opposite of the Gemara. And the Rambam in both places, both in Mishnah Torah and in Sefer HaMitzvos, in Loisek Reisari Gimel, quotes two reasons. A hekish, kashe yokum ish areu tzocho kein hadov hazeh, v'hishvo v'dishma din roidef, that's in both the Lashonos. And even though, according to Shiur Beis, you can't learn a mitzvah of Midas HaTorah, maybe the pshat is you can expand the mitzvah to Midas HaTorah. As Biskulov says in Hilchos Malchos Osus. Or you could say it's a mashmos hakol. Or a Moshiach lo yesh Moshiach b'chol dover shechol Moshiach. Afilu b'Yis HaRoidef. But we don't know mitzvahs that you can derive from Michlal Lava to Shemei Hein. We don't find the mitzvah say like that. So maybe even according to this pshat, you can expand the mitzvah through a drasha. We'll see about this more later. Whether it's the exact way to say, we should say it a little different. This is just a preliminary interpretation. We'll see more mitzvah Shem later. We're going to ask the other question. This is, what seems to be something so simple, the truth is so complicated. The Rambam learns that the makor for the mitzvah of Roidef is the pasuk of Katzoises Kapel. That's pretty clear. However, we find Talmud Bavli, we'll see in Baba Kama, that the Talmud learns from the pasuk B'Shilcha, which is the pasuk right before, the Dine Boishes. Baba Kama pay Baba and Aleph. Boishes Nami ad the Mechaven lo. Tichsi B'Shilcha Yoda V'Chzika Mabushav. Ad she is Chaven lo. Ram also Chayvel Mazik quotes Perik Aleph, Alocha Tes and Yud. Minayin Shuchai B'Boishes B'Fnei Atzmoy Mit Atzmo Shahare Nema B'Shilcha Yoda V'Chzika Mabushav B'Katzoises Kapo B'Chlal Din Knas Hamavayis. He says B'Katzoises Kapo. He says, he quotes the pasuk V'Chzika Mabushav B'Katzoises Kapo B'Chlal Din Knas Hamavayis. Eno Chayiv Al Boishes Achi Mischaven Shenema B'Shilcha Yoda Acha Ava Hamavayis Chaveiroi Loikavon this pot. So he quotes his pasuk B'Katzoises Kapo by Boishes. So how does he do this? How does he dance, as they say in Yiddish, wie tanzt man auf zwei Chasnas? How can this thing? And it clearly is a Pirush HaMakubal. As the Ram says, Nakdom is the Pirush HaMishnah. V'ni ze yisoid tzor shetedu. V'hu she'apirush HaMakubal in Moshe ein bei machlokes klal. V'vi sharach shel lo motzona shnofel machlokes. Ben hachachomim b'shum zman. מן הזמנים ממוישה רבינו עד רב אשי, שאחור אומר שמי ששימה אין אדום מסמין אס עינוי. You take out his eye. כמים השם יסעלה עין בעין. ואחר אומר דומים בלבד הוא חייב. גם מוצר מחלוקת מה שכוסף פרי עץ הודו. שאחור אומר שהוא העשרק. ואחר אומר שהוא הפוריס, או הרימון, או זולוסוב, לא מצאנו מחלוקת בעץ אובוי, שהוא הדוס, זה מחלוקת בפירוש אומר יסעלה בקצויסו אס קפו, שהוא דומים. So no one interprets anything else except for Domim. So the truth is, the Malbim talks about these issues, not in terms of the Rambam. The Malbim says that you read the psukim like either or, the two options. There's V'Shilcha, which is the Chiyuv Tashlumi Boishes. Ve'Chziko is Asola Mishum Eva Sheish Bo Sakona. But the Ram doesn't seem to differentiate. He quotes the Katzoises Kapo. He quotes the whole thing together, even by Boishes. So I wouldn't buy. You can look at the Malbim and say Pashki Seitze or Iskov Samuch. I don't believe it's Chat in the Ram. I don't think he says it's Chat in the Ram. Now, to add insult to injury. Another Gemara in Baba Kama. The Gemara derives or has the drasha about Ovid Inish Dina Nafshe. And it quotes the pasuk B'Katzoises Kapo that demonstrates that principle. And the Gemara interprets the Katzoises Kapo mufurish in its moment, which the Ram and Pirush Mishnayis did, and probably quoting the Gemara in Baba Kama. Baba Kama Chav Chesam and Aleph. Toshma. The Katzoises Kappa moment. But Katzoises Kappa is moment. That's it. No issue. My love. B'shein yachol latzilo al yidei dova acher. And he has to forgive Katzoises Kappa that he has to pay for the Katzoises Kappa. Mamoy, because it's kapo that if you did it, it's not a tzivui, but if this happens, you have to pay mamoy. My lab, b'sheni yochol lahatzil al yedei dov acher, b'chlo, b'shiyochol lahatzil al yedei dov acher, and you cut off the hand, so and you didn't do it, so then you pay mamoy. But because it's kapo, it means why? Because because it's kapo, you're allowed to be over Yiddish nafshe, except where it's not necessary. So it means that you learn from the pasuk that you have there's a tour chayvul umazik by vs momoin that is rightfully yours al pi din, b'derech ovid inish din of the nafshe, where it's any yochol latzil b'derech acheres, and that's l'chayil the makor for the din in choshim mishpat in siman dalet sif aleph. Yochol odom lasis din la'atzmon im loye sheloi biad acher shegozloi yochol lekachto miyodoi. If someone trying to stop him from regaining something which is rightfully his, he's allowed to hit him. But that's because he says kappa. If yochol atzilo because kappa is machayiv momor, the any yochol atzilo, or latzil the momor that's rightfully his, so then is ptura. This is like an amazing question. There's one thing that you have a Gemara Sanhedrin saying the source is this way, and the Sefer says the source is the other way. And now does the Ram turn around and say the source is in the Sefer, not from the Gemara, but because of the Sefer, he turns around the Gemara that we saw already. But here, it's the Chastir Menei Obey. The Talmud says that we learn out B'shilcha Busha of Dina and Maboshes. And this is the source of Boshes. And the Ram says it's a Pirush Makubal, and there was no Machlokes Midei Deis. And this is the example of the Pirush Makubal, which the Ram quotes in the Pirush Mishnayos at the beginning of Sanhedrin. I mean, the beginning of the Pirush Mishnayos, the beginning of before Zeroyim, the Akdom the Pirush Mishnah. So I want to tell you a new cloud that I think is very important in the Rambam in Minyan HaMitzvos. And I want to show you 3 examples that the Rambam uses it. I'm not sure, some of them we might have had a Tzorchiyun a while back ago, but I think this is the answer. And starts like this. We have in general something called Pshuta Shel Mikra, and we have a Pirush Makubal. Something the pasuk seems to say X, which is Pshuta Shel Mikra, and there's also Pirush Makubal. And just for the record's sake, it's not clear to me at all. And we'll see that it's probably also it's more than not clear to me at all that the Pirush Makubal says that there's no Pashup Shat Pasuk. It just says that's the Pirush that Moshe Rabbeinu said from the Rebbeinu Shem. question is, if you have a stira between the Pshuta Shel Mikra and the Pirush Makubal, how are you kaveh the mitzvah? So I can imagine someone saying this way, someone saying that way. I want to venture and suggest that it could go either way. So it can go either way. It's what you call it's pandemonium. So there are no rules anymore if you're ready to accept that. So I'm telling you no. I'm telling you the one who sets the rules on the Matiki Shmur. And according to their Kabbalah, that's the Kaveya of which way to go. Now, let's start over here, and I'll show you in a few cases how it might play itself out. Suggestion over here is that Pshuta Shamika Vikatsoises Kapo is literally to cut off the hand. And the Targum Onkelos says that V'sakot Yos Yadah. And the Targum Yushalmi, or whatever it is, Yodis, or whatever you want, V'siktu Yos Pisas Yadah. However, there clearly is a Pirush Makubal that we learn Tashlumi Boishis from this person. So now we're perplexed. What do we do? Do we say this is not a separate mitzvah? We put this in the broad category of the mitzvah of din chayva b'chaveira, or do we say it's a separate mitzvah and you're saving someone? There's a sakonas eva, and there's a mitzvah of katsoisis kapo. So the answer is, depending upon that the Sifri deals with this, and since the Sifri of the Matiki Hashmur of the Bailim at Hayag Mitzvas, if the Sifri quotes the Pshuta Shel Mikra, then we know the mitzvah is nikva according to the Pshuta Shel Mikra. If the Sifri quotes the Pirush Makubal, we know that the mitzvah is according to the Pirush Makubal, or whether it's the Sifra or the Mechilta. So here, you noticed, as the Ram quotes here, that's why he quotes, Voloshin Sifri, Mabusha Miyuchot Sheish Pasakonis Nefoshes, Vahehu Bekosis Kapo, Kach Kolovish Sheish Pasakonis, Vahari Bekosis Kapo. Because this Kapo, Lamich, Atochayev Latzilo Bekapo, as they state in Sifri, and the Sifri is the Keveya from the Tayag Mitzvahs. So even though there's a Pirush Makubal, which no one is denying, or that the mitzvah is nikva with Pshuta Shel Mikra. So we don't say that Bakatzois' Kapo is part of the din of Chayvel Umazik, of Chayvel Chaveira, but no, it is a separate mitzvah, and it's a amal, a separate mitzvah of Hatzoros Nirdof Miara Loidif. So even though, interesting, even the Matiki Ashmur chose the Pshuta Shel Mikra over the Pirush Makubal and said that's the mitzvah. However, they're still ready to say, because the Sifri also quotes the Drasha of L'Sogos Eincha, that Iviyat Yochel Atzila Be'echo Meivor, so is Hogan Oisai. So that Pirush Makubal comes and tells you that this pshuto shomika, which is only the kata is the kappa, is afilu benafshe shaloy. It's an amazing thing. And therefore it's a chelik of the mitzvah, because that's the Sefer. That's the Matikei Shmur telling what the mitzvah is. So even though it's the Holy Ashara, but the Matikei Shmur said, or that this Pirush HaMakubal is coming to explain what the mitzvah is. That it's not only be'eve, but it's benafshe shaloy. Now, I want to show you, and I challenge you, I think it's incontrovertible proof. Because the one who says this is Pshuto Shel Mikra is the Tanakh itself. And I'll show you. There's a pasuk in the Torah, Lo Yumsu Ovos Harbonim. So there's a Pshuto Shel Mikra, which is a pasuk in Malachim Beis, that they call it Malachim Beis, Perek Yudal, pasuk Vav. I'll read you. Bes Bnei Amukim. Lo Hemis, he didn't kill the Bnei Amak. He didn't kill them, because they're only the Bnei Amak, right? Lo Hemis. Kakosu b'Sefer Teres Moshe. Because it says in the Sefer, it says in the Sefer Torah, it says in the Tanakh, Kakosu b'Sefer Teres Moshe, Asher tzivu Hashem, Lemo lo yumsu avos abonim, ubonim lo yumsu avos, ki ish b'cheto yumos. So that's pretty clear that that's Pshuto Shel Mikra. However, there's a Pirush Makubal, which is Sifri quotes, Lo yumsu avos abonim, v'chima bo akosel lamdenu, shelo yumsu avos abonim, v'leibonim al yidei avos, v'lekvar ne'ema ish b'cheto yumosel, you don't need it, elo shelo yumsu avos be'edus bonim, v'leibonim be'edus avos, kishu hoime ubonim l'rabus esakoyim. And therefore, when it comes to the law, the ashara of the yumsu avos abonim, even though the Tanakh in Malachim gives edus or todas pshat and pasuk, he's kaveya the mitzvah according to the Matikei Shmur. Listen, lo yisaseh reish pei zayin, ubo haperush hamakubal b'sifri. And what does it come and say? Shaloyum so avos al edus bonim, bonim al edus avos. Oh, das. That's the mitzvah. So that one time we found the Matikei Shmur in the Sifri where Kevei you go after Pshuto Shel Mikra, and another time we found they went after the Pirush HaMakubal. And even though the Pshuto Shel Mikra is incontrovertible, because the pasuk of Tanakh, what more do you need? It says, Kakosu b'Sefer Teres Moshe. You know, how can you be more of a clear than Rabban Iskach? What's going on over here? Rabban Shurish Beis. There's Bnei Amu. Lo himis Kakosu b'Sefer Teres Moshe. Asher tzivu Hashem leimo, lo yuvus avos al bonim, ubonim yimsu al avos. Yish b'cheto yoms. Now, another case. And the truth is, I was bothered. What's the arichas of the Rambam? And I think now I understand. I think I probably asked the kasha. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Mitzvah Aseh chof. The mitzvah being based on Bechira. The Rambam mefurish in mitzvah chof says Pshuto Shel Mikra Mizbach Abonon Mizbach Adoma Ta'aseli. Pshuto Shel Mikra is a bomber. Which has had the bombs. And the Chayra, you apply the Shiur Shlishi, It's nothing to do with minyan mitzvahs because it's only a mitzvah shop. After the Beis Hamikdash or during, there's no mitzvah of making a bomb after being Beis Hamikdash. But according to the Pirush Makubal, it's a chelik of the mitzvah of binyan Beis Hamikdash. So the question is, how do we look at this? Do we go after Chuta Shomika and we say that Mizbach Avonim or Mizbach Adom has nothing to do with binyan mitzvahs? Or we say no? We go after the Pirush Makubal and we make it part of binyan Beis Hamikdash. So the answer is that the Matiki Hashmua are the Kevim. They tell us which one you should pick, because they're the Bailim on the Meseirah of Hayag Mitzvahs. As the Ram says in the Abdomen to Pirush Mishnayis, when he talks about the Gemara and Eruvin, of cases say the Mishnah, Moshe Limid Le'Aaron, the Moshe, then Aaron the Bonov, and then to Aaron Bonov is Kedim, then Aaron Bonov is Kedim call Yisrael. And what was the agenda? What was the syllabus? Hayag Mitzvahs. Because that's what Matika Shmu all about. That's what Messiah is about. The Messiah of Hayag Mitzvahs. Why Hayag Mitzvahs is central to a whole Talmud Torah. It was central to the Rambam in Minyan Mitzvahs, Mishnah Torah, etc. Therefore, the Rambam is Marich and Mitzvah Seicha, quoting the Matike Ashmua, Mechilta after Mechilta, because all the Mechiltas are going about doing are saying, it's like the Pirush Makul, because when the Matike Ashmua learn Pshat and Posik of the Stam Sifri, or Stam Sifra, or Stam Mechilta tells you what to be kevei the minyan mitzvahs. And since he decides that binyan mizbeach of mizbach adomo and mizbach avonim is part of the mitzvah binyan hamikdash, so he quotes there this whole arichas. Omnom mizbeach mizbach adomo taseli sheichoshe bakosem hazeh shu mitzvah b'fnei atzmo chutz mitzvah mikdash ho'inyan bo kmo she'esaper lecho ulam pashte dekor hinehu medaber b'shas hete abomois shehoye muter lono b'zmanahu shenase mizbeach adomo b'chol mokom v'naktiv bod va'omu aleim hasholom. Or however Rabbi said, that's what he has us rejoin them. Ukvar omu aleim hasholom otat matiki hashmua ki inyan ze hu shetziva livnois mizbeach shir mechuba l'kark mechuba ba'oretz v'shenetak metuto k'moy shehoye b'midbar otot the posik as far as minyan mitzvahs, as far as the Meseirah, the Matiki Hashmua, it's a posik to tell you about the Mizbeach and Mikdash. And that's why this whole is quoting you. Here you're not going after Chuta Shomika. B'mechilta, the Rabbi Yishmael, b'feirush, ze ha-posuk. Keshetikonis la'oretz, aseh li Mizbeach ha'mabuchuba ba'adomo. V'chashedova kei, if that's a Mizeh Pshat and Posik, is we go in terms of mitzvahs, in terms of the Pirush Makubal, it's a mitzvah l'deis. V'hu mechelke hamikdash, v'etzloi meshiyivne mizbeach avonim behechach, u'mechilta. Amu b'feirush, amu yisale, Mizbach avonim taseli, Omur. The Matiki Hashmua said, and who we represented them by Bishmoel Oimer, he call him v'im shebater rishus chutz mishloisha echod mehem v'mizbach avonim Omur v'mizbach avonim chayva. Atoime chayvu ein el rishus But the Matiki Hashmut took this pasuk, which we could have interpreted according to Pshuta Shal Mikra, and it should have been a separate mitzvah, but it's not going to be a minyan because of the Asher Shlishi. Oh no, it's going to be part of the mitzvah of Binyan HaMikdash when it's Pshuta Shal Mikra, the Pirush Mekubal, where it's a wrestling match. Who wins? Oto the Matiki Hashmua in the Mechilta, the Midrash Halacha, the way they say over. That gufa is the Kaveh Halacha. And that's the Riches in the Rambam, Mitzvas Seichov. He'ora. This sounds a little, it's very, very strange. I'm going to read you Lashon Rambam, which sounds almost like, he's saying something is clear, which can't be clear. He says like this. He says that if a Novi is going to come and say and interpret the Katseisa as Kappa Kipshutai, which the Ram himself does over here, he's a Novi Hashem. If a Novi comes and says the Katseisa is Kappa, it's Pshuta Shamika, he's a Novi Hashem. It's Chayiv Misa. But the Ram himself says the Katseisa is Kappa. It's an amazing question. The Ram himself in Pirush Shayis says something which he does in Sefer Mitzvah Kvira. He writes, I'll read it to you. If you say I'm misinterpreting the words, let me know. Ukidema lezeh, o sheyeshane b'Kabbalah, eze shinui. He's changing the Kabbalah, but the Messiah. Sheyiyeh, af al pi b'Kabbalah eze shinui sheyiyeh, af al pi shepshat ha'meksuvim misayimim, the pshat ha'ksuvim are support this interpretation. Messiah is going Shioima. Shema Shenema Batera Bakatzois Kapo Lesochas Einko. Shuhu Ketzitzes Hayod Mamish. Bieno Knas Amavish. Kamo Shibianu Bekabol. And this person, if he's a Novi Asheta and he's Chayivis. Chalabayne Shaylo. Okay, this is impossible. So I would tell you like this. I think what the Rambam means is taking the Pshuta Shal Mikra at the expense of the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah doesn't exist. And interpret Tzitzis Hayad, even in the case of Mazik. Shiom Bateir, Zeshem Bateir, because it's Kapol, but it's also Shuhu Tzitzis Hayad Mamish, the Eno Knas Hambavayish. There's no Knas Mavayish. He's denying the Pirush Makubal. And he's saying it's only the Pshuta Shal Mikra. K'moshe bi'ara ha-Kabbalah. And they deny the Kabbalah. That denial of the Kabbalah, that's Kfira. That's what I'm talking about over here. That's the Novi Hashem. That's what I would suggest. I just want to tell you, for those that learn Ramban and Chumash, and it's going to be a very short remark. There's a lot of content in it. It's beyond the purview I want to talk about now. You'll find a lot. Many times in Ramban, will say Derech HaPshat and Derech HaBisein. Derech HaPshat, I don't know if it means Pshuta Shal Mikra. It might be something very similar to Pshuta Shal Mikra. The way he interprets the pasuk in its context, in the parsha, whatever it is, that's what he gives you the spin of what he thinks the pasuk Pshuta is saying. And then there's the Kabbalah from Rabbi Seino. And when there's an issue in general of a stira between Derech HaPshat and Derech Rabbi Seino, the Ramban's opinion, I think, without exception, is the Keveya, is Derech Rabbi Seino. I'm not getting involved in this now. It's not really the purpose of what we're dealing with now, but just telling you, the Ram has his cloud, that it depends upon the Medrash Halacha, how they can this pasuk, and that's Kevei in the Mitzvah. Ramban has his cloud. Now next. I think the truth is, I didn't know how far to get. I finished really the first half of this mitzvah. What I'm going to now, with Hashem next week, if it's all right, I think we can probably do it next week on Monday night. Unless you like it differently, let me know. The Rambam cans the mitzvah over here as Hatzolah. However, when you look at the Reish Sadi Gimel, he cans the mitzvah as stopping someone from doing Aveira. So what's going on over here? And then another thing which I found is very strange to get you thinking about it. If the Rambam wants to expand the mitzvah over here to include arayos of Na'amurasa, wouldn't you expect the Rambam to talk about it over here in this mitzvah of Reish Mem Zayin? But he's talking about it in the law of Loisachas Eincha. So what exactly does the Rambam want? And what does he mean? Then we'll have to understand if it's protecting from Aveira, what's the Aveira? And what does he mean there in Reish Sadi Gimel? Being a cotton that is great Aveira, or Mishnah Torah also he says a cotton great Aveira. What's the Aveira of a cotton? What's going on in the Rambam? Then we're going to discuss in general. We'll just have to work this out. We'll discuss in general whether Reidef is, some Rishonim seem to talk about it almost like an Einish, and that's Ramban. You'll find it in Sherish Beis, and there's Yad Ramah. It's an Edrin that says it's only Hatzolah. We'll have to see exactly how that plays itself out. And then after we finish this, the next challenge will be to try to interpret the Ram Chaim. What does the Ram say by the Uber that it's mutter? Is it a mitzvah? Is it mutter? When is it mitzvah? When is it mutter? What's the Fich Rambam? What does the Rambam want? The Chiyuv of the Reidef and the Din of the Reidef. And Mitzvah Hashem, we'll pick this up next week. So all be zeicha. Be chayze b'tshuva shleima, and the Rebbeinu Shalom should be misayeh bad.